Welcome to JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. If this is your first time checking out a video, please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. We're watching a clip of First Things First, talking about whether or not, the hype is too overhyped with Caleb Williams, or whether it's too high, too low, or just right. I want to hear what they have to say first before I kind of talk too much about it, but I just want to say off the top that I think the hype around Justin Fields is 100% legit. The fact that people even think that, did I say Justin Fields? I meant Caleb Williams, but Caleb Williams is, the hype around him is 100% warranted. I mean, he is an unbelievable, amazing player. And the idea that there's even remotely a consideration that he could be a bust or not great, I think is just absurd. I think his ceiling is that of, or not a ceiling, his floor is that of a Josh Allen, and his ceiling and his ceiling could be on that of, say, a Patrick Mahomes. But in reality, I think Josh Allen could be, Patrick Mahomes if he was actually given a legitimate offensive head coach and a legitimate OC with legitimate weapons and a well-organized franchise with actual concrete, trustworthy, consistent weapons. But I digress. And I don't know if Caleb Williams will get that throughout his career. I know the Bears are definitely getting better and they are trying to make moves in the right direction, but we just do not know. So am I predicting that Caleb Williams is going to ball out immediately with the Bears? Not necessarily. Which is why I said I predict more of maybe like a Josh Allen start where we see some amazing stuff, but also some difficult stuff. The Bears pretty much leaving him out to dry on one or two occasions. And I think the risk with the Caleb Williams is because he is so unbelievably talented and can do such amazing things, that power needs to be controlled and contained. And he actually, because he's so good and can do so much, he actually becomes a harder player to coach. And again, that is what made Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid this perfect match, because every time Patrick Mahomes was going to get too out of control because he's so amazing and so great, Andy Reid was able to, compress that power and say, nope, we got to bring you back down. We got, what will make you ultimately truly special is you being consistent, as well as doing some of these magical things, rather than doing all these magical things and forgetting all this other more, fundamental football 101 stuff. And I'm just not so sure that Caleb Williams will be offered that, It's kind of what Brian Daboll was able to do with Josh Allen. That's why his interceptions were down and they relied on him less heavily. They were able to actually build a more complete offense when Daboll was there with Josh Allen, which makes a lot of sense. And again, it's what Andy Reid brings to Patrick Mahomes. It's what Shane Steichen brought to Jalen Hurts. It's what Shanahan does for Purdy, Garoppolo. It's what, that's what Sean McVay with Stafford and even Goff. It's what these great offensive minds do. Okay, they can buff out the rough edges, they can minimize the mistakes, they can bring up the floor and say, yes, I want you to be able to do this fun, exciting stuff that I know you're capable of, but I'm going to tell you when it's a time and place to do it. Not to mention, I'm not going to rely on you to do that to have us win every single freaking game, which is what the Bills do with Josh Allen, and which is what the Chiefs don't do with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes wins a Super Bowl and he doesn't even throw 200 yards. That's unheard of for, say, a Josh Allen. That's unheard of for a lot of these other quarterbacks. That just shows you that they put Patrick Mahomes in a position to succeed rather than saying, hey, you're our quarterback, put us in a position to succeed. There's a huge difference. And so to me, that's where the marble is going to roll with Caleb Williams, because I don't think Caleb Williams is going to be so transcendent that he can do things that Patrick Mahomes couldn't even do. I don't believe that, but I believe that they're all within the same ballpark, can do a lot of the all same things. So really, his chance of success and how successful he is actually going to be things that are out of his control. I really, really do believe that. It's going to be all things that are going to be out of his control. Who are his coaches? Who are his weapons? Who's calling the plays? What's happening? And that's really what I believe. So let's take a listen to see how these guys break it down, and we can kind of go from there, even though I did give my rant at the top. So,
Record, New England also cares about football.
Yeah, they don't have the number 1 pick.
Well, I'm just
Maybe
saying
they
if
should
he's looking
trade
for a
up.
place that really
He
cares
didn't
about
look
football.
overjoyed. I'm just saying.
Wow.
So
I'm not saying anything.
Can
I'm
I just
saying.
real quick before we do that, since
Just
we
making
just
an
got that
observation.
sound,
Yeah.
I think he's trying. I'm just going to play pop psychologist for a moment, trying to balance between the arrogance associated with assuming, I'm definitely going to Chicago, and with the, I want to be there, while also leaving open the possibility that maybe New England or somebody else makes such a great offer the Bears move back a spot and he's not pot committed, saying this is the only place. So maybe I'm being too generous there, but that's, I think, maybe one of the things that happened there. But go ahead, sorry. We had a question.
It's the hype around. I know we had a question.
Well, you were too busy
You
drinking.
were looking for it.
Yeah,
I
you
saw
were.
your eye. You were like,
Yeah.
I lost it for a minute. I could tell. I could tell.
It's exactly right. Hype around Caleb. Too
That's
high, too low, or just right. Chef's kiss.
Somehow, the hype's too low. And I think I can prove it to you, Brew.
All right.
Just for the context of it. He is the highest regarded prospect to come out of school since Andrew Luck. He's a more highly regarded prospect than even the Prince. So since Luck, and obviously Mahomes is, I think, the greatest player we've ever seen. He was the 10th pick.
Right.
And so as far as prospects, what was the hype surrounding Andrew Luck? Well, the Colts, without really thinking about it that much, said, Peyton Manning, get the hell out of here. 2 years removed from Peyton being league MVP and them going to a Super Bowl,
He had all the
they
injuries,
said,
his neck
we are
injuries and
moving
stuff.
on because of this guy. There was real discussion about whether or not the Bears should move on from Justin Fields for weeks, postseason, up until it became very clear.
That feels like it hurts your
was
argument.
injured. He was injured at that point.
Peyton missed 1 year, but nobody thought his career was over. You had a bunch of teams still going after him. The reason they got the number 1 pick was because he had missed the entire season, and he was 36.
And he turned out pretty good.
Yeah, and then he had 4 more, years.
Really
went to 2 Super Bowls, won an MVP, broke all the records for passing his first or second year in Denver. So my point being, there has been, for a player of this caliber, walking into this situation, that the only actual critique of him is football critique is he might try too hard to make great plays, which lead to the sacks. And the only other critique you hear is, we think he's soft because he cried that one time because he paid.
Well, and that was my point with Mahomes. That's where Mahomes, was kind of, doing as well. And again, that's my point of Andy Reid, bringing him down and being like, listen, this is what we got to do. So again, does Caleb get the correct coaching and scheming to avoid those things? Because a lot of times it needs to be coached out of them. It really does.
Paint his nails, which to me is nonsense, but I understand I'm not in NFL front offices. There should be more hype. It shouldn't necessarily be Wembanyama level hype, but it certainly should be, right now he is being hyped the same amount as last year's draft class.
No.
Or the year before.
I think he's being way hyped way more than
You
that.
do?
Yeah.
Where?
Everywhere.
Yeah,
I mean, he's the
no one was talking about the
consensus number.
Bryce
There
Young
are a few,
sweepstakes.
Jaden Daniels, Drake. I get
They're
it.
just trying to.
But, for 2 years now, he's been hyped. I think it's too high. And I like Caleb. I like him better than I like Bryce Young. You guys know I was more high on C.J. Stroud, so I like him better than I like Bryce Young. I think he'll be really good. I think he's got a chance. But the hype is too high. Have we not learned that there is no guarantee at the quarterback position?
Yeah, I agree.
Just because a guy was phenomenal in college, just because he won the Heisman means nothing in the NFL. We've seen, 27 quarterbacks since the merger, all right, in the Super Bowl era. 27 quarterbacks have been taken number 1 in the draft. 8 of them have lived up to it. And Terry Bradshaw, John Elway, Troy Aikman, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Matt Stafford, Cam Newton, I'm going to throw him in there, and Joe Burrow. If you want to throw Luck in, we had the injury. He retired
I think
early.
Luck lived up to it. He just had a shortened career because of injury.
If you go Luck, and then Goff.
What about
do you
Goff?
Go,
Goff
okay,
didn't.
so 8 or 9 if you go Luck out of 27. And here's the other thing.
It's fair.
The top quarterbacks ever, only 2 of them, say 2 of the top 10, were drafted number 1 ever. Patrick Mahomes, you said it, 10th pick. Tom Brady, we know, 6th round. Aaron Rodgers, 24th overall. Dan Marino, 27th overall. 6th quarterback taken in his draft. Joe Montana, 3rd round overall. 3rd round, last pick of the 3rd round. 4th quarterback ever taken. Drew Brees, 2nd round. Brett Favre, 2nd round. Roger Staubach, 10th round. I know that's way back. But I'm just saying, like, the judgment more than any other position to predict a great quarterback.
Yeah, and I get what Brew is saying, but the quarterback position is obviously brutally difficult and very difficult to get right. But there's different levels of hype, you know. I mean, and there's different levels of expectations. You know, there's been other quarterbacks like Goff was a number 1 pick, and actually a good number 1 pick for the most part. I understand he's not winning 17 Super Bowls here, but Goff wasn't hyped to the level of, you know, the next evolution of a Patrick Mahomes. People weren't saying Goff was, you know, the next Tom Brady, and I'm sure some people were saying that, but that wasn't a general conversation. They weren't talking about the Jared Goff sweepstakes here. They were saying that all year, you know, all season with Caleb Williams, right? It's Caleb Williams, Caleb Williams, Caleb Williams. And, you know, to Nick's point is what he's saying is that there was actual debate about, you know, maybe trading that pick and keeping Justin Fields. And so he's saying that the hype is too low. He's saying that that is essentially absurd and insane. How could you ever think that? How could you ever think that? That's so insane. And, you know, and which makes sense. Because if you think that he really is going to be that unbelievable, it's like, well, of course you're not going to keep him. Of course you're not going to trade that pick or keep Justin Fields over him, right? That's insane. If you had, you know, Baker Mayfield as your quarterback, and you thought that, you know, and that you can now draft Patrick Mahomes before Patrick Mahomes, it would be the most comically absurd conversation one could ever have. There's not a person on the planet that would pick Baker Mayfield over Patrick Mahomes. And now if Caleb Williams ends up being truly elite, like a lot of people believe he will be, it's a comical conversation to ever think that you would keep Justin Fields in place of that. And so that's why, you know, Nick is saying that the hype is too low. And, you know, Bruce saying that the hype is too high, that we see quarterbacks fail all the time. We're acting like that this is a done deal. And, you know, I get it, but I think in this situation, the eyes don't lie. And there's just different levels of hype why we saw other quarterbacks do other certain things. And you can maybe point to concrete reasons why some of these quarterbacks maybe didn't translate into the NFL, or maybe they were reaches, right? Baker Mayfield was a reach at number 1, you know, and sometimes a Jared Goff going number 1 is because, well, he's the best quarterback in the draft, you know, or, you know, like who else do you want us to draft? And we need a quarterback. So let's go. And Jared Goff is a more than capable quarterback. He's a great quarterback. You can win a Super Bowl with him. You can obviously get to a Super Bowl with him. So I don't think it's really fair to kind of, you know, necessarily do that. And yes, you can point to these other quarterbacks that were not drafted number 1, obviously, over the years. But one, quarterback play has evolved and changed over the years, and it's become even more important than it was 20, 30 years ago. It was still obviously always important, but now it's 100%, you know, you either need to have a stacked team or you need to have an elite quarterback, you know, one or the other. You need to get the quarterback right, or you need an absolute stacked team. And even if you have a stacked team, you need to have the coach right, and you need to have an average or above average quarterback. You probably can't even win with an average quarterback with a stacked team, quite honestly. So we know how important the quarterback position is. You know, and I think that with Caleb, you don't even have to look at the stats. Honestly, throw the stats out there. Just do the eye test. Just watch him. Even if you don't know anything about football, like the real true X's and O's and what you're really looking at and the different coverages, the defense and this and that, just do the eye test. Just do the eye test. And just trust what your eyes tell you. Because if you don't know anything about football, if you're an alien and you just landed here and we said, look at this guy, you know, do you think he's good? You're just going to get a resounding yes. You're going to get wow. He jumps off the page, jumps off the screen. And, the argument is that he's not going to, a lot of things that made him special in college is that he's not going to be able to do that in the pros. Is he going to be able to do it at that high enough of a rate? The answer is probably no. But will he still be able to do some of it, just like what Patrick Mahomes does? Yes. Yes. So the real question is can he be consistently good at the basics, at the elementary points, like a Patrick Mahomes? And if that's the case, then the sky is the limit for him. And I have no reason to believe that he can't do that. Will he maybe be able to be as consistent, as ruthless as a Patrick Mahomes and calm, cool, collected as a Patrick Mahomes? I have no idea. Seriously, I have no idea. Do we really think that Patrick Mahomes is just the best quarterback ever and no one's ever going to surpass him? No. There will absolutely be another quarterback that will surpass Patrick Mahomes. Just like how there's a quarterback that may be passing Tom Brady, right? Just like how no one thought anyone was ever going to surpass Michael Jordan. Whether you believe LeBron James has or hasn't, it's still a conversation. Patrick Mahomes is not the final evolution of the quarterback. One day we are going to see a quarterback who is like 6'8" and can, just is an absolute monster and can throw the ball 70 yards down the field. I mean, we're going to see it one day. It's just math. It's just eventually going to happen. He's just going to be an absolute monster freak of nature. And he's never going to get injured, and he's going to play 15 years straight and not get injured once. And it's going to be, he's going to win 4 Super Bowls in a row. Is that going to be Caleb Williams? Probably not, but it's gonna happen one day. So to think that we've just reached the end, to me, is silly. So that's why my real question is then, well, why not Caleb? Why can't Caleb be there next? We are seeing higher talented players come into the league more regularly now in any professional sports, whether it's baseball, basketball, soccer, football. We're seeing this happen more regularly now. And it's exciting. It really, really is, because the level of talent of these players is the leagues will eventually be saturated with very high levels of talent, and the competition is just going to be great. So I'm really excited. I don't think the hype is too high. I think Caleb individually as a person should absolutely thrive in the NFL. My big question is will the Chicago Bears put him in a position to do that? That's the only reason why the hype can't be high. That's the only reason why. Outside of that, if he was getting drafted to the Rams, if he was getting drafted obviously to the 49ers, to the Eagles, to I'm trying to think of other good, now at this point, the Chargers with Harbaugh, Shane Steichen and the Colts, like people who we know have the offense worked and know how to design an offense and how to actually get the ball moving in the right direction. Then you could then it would really just be like, well, of course things are going to go insane. But the fact of the matter is that he is getting drafted to the Bears, and a part of me really hopes that he doesn't, but it does seem like that's going to be the case. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you think? Caleb's, is the expectations, is the hype too high, too low, or just right? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.